A funny thing happened at work today. I was talking to a friend, and his wife had just lost her job, and he was talking to me about student loan debt. Now, about a third of the country has student loan debt, and it sucks for all of us. It's crushing almost all of us because it's just outrageous. And same thing for my friend. I asked him if he didn't mind telling me how much he paid, and he just said too much, which means it's a lot. And I've learned that a lot of people don't know that there's ways that you can help yourself with student loan debt. There's ways around it, kind of. In the end, you'll probably have to pay it all, but there's ways to help you make it easier on yourself while you're trying to pay it. I have 6 figures of student loan debt, and my payment each month when I first started out was $1,300 a month. That's pretty much the same payment that you would pay for a Ferrari. I was paying that for my student loan debt, and I'm just saying that my college education was not worth a Ferrari. I would gladly take the car. But I learned that, through time, just needing help, struggling to make ends meet, and just trying to fight through it all, there are ways to help yourself with student loan debt. The first thing is you can call your student loan provider and consolidate all of your loans. This takes your interest rate and drops it. This helps a lot. Instead of being charged interest at 6% on 5 loans, you are now being charged interest on 1 loan at 5%. Once you graduate, you have about 6 months before you start paying your loans off, and this is 6 months total, even if you go to grad school again, and then you think you have 6 more months. No. If you've used your first 6 months, that's all you have. So, once that first 6 months is over, you have options. You have the option of a deferral, which is where you take your student loans and push them back for 3 months and say, I can't pay these, because the student loan company would rather give you 3 more months than not get paid at all. So, there's a deferral. There's also the option of a forbearance. It's where you take your student loans and push them back for a certain number of months. Private loans, you can only push them back for 3 months with the deferral. With federal student loans, you can push those back for up to 12 months total. Now, what I mean by total is you can do 4 months this year, and in 5 years you can do 4 more months, and then another 5 years you can do 4 more months, and after that full year is done, it's gone. And then you have no more options. But you have 12 months of forbearance you can use. There is also other options for when your deferral is gone, your forbearance is gone, and you're just up a creek. You have income-based repayment loans. What that is, besides hidden on your loan provider's website, is where, depending on how much money you make and how much debt you owe, you can repay your student loan debt at a lower rate. I myself pay $50 a month, because if I pay any more, I might not eat. The government will still help you. I know, people think the government, you can't trust them, don't like the government, and don't agree with the government, think it's corrupt. They're still there to help you, provide for yourself. In America, if you have no money, you're still going to eat. That's the good thing about America. It might not be much, but you're still going to eat. Income-based repayment, the way to get it is you go to studentloans.gov and you apply for it. It's one of the options there for people who already have student loans and they've already graduated. You apply for it, they send it to your loan provider. They double check it, see if you qualify for it, and then they send you an email or a letter saying, yes, you qualify for income-based repayment. Here is your new monthly payment. There are other options too on there, like loan forgiveness and pay as you earn. These, for the most part, are rare to get. They're hard to get, and I wouldn't waste my time. Income-based repayment is the best one to get, because as long as you don't make 6 figures, you can get it. Like me, I owe 6 figures of student loan debt. Last year I made like 20 grand. and I owe $50 a month. I got a new job recently, and I'll make a lot more money. I'll make over double that 20 grand, and my payments next year will be close to 500. There are other variables, though, such as if you're married and have a child. If you're married, they take that into account, and your income-based repayment will go lower than if you were single. If you're married with a child, once again, that comes into account. So if I get married and then get her pregnant on the first day of our wedding, and she has the baby before I have to reapply for income-based repayment, who knows, my payment might stay at $50 a month. That's another thing about income-based repayment. You have to apply for it each year. So if you owe like 30 grand in student loans, dragging it out for 25 years is probably not the best option. So if you struggle for 1 year, you apply for it, use it to your best interest, and then after that year, if you have a better job or a job again, go ahead and just knock them out as fast as you can. The other option that people have that they don't really think about is Chapter 13 bankruptcy. This really helps out with private student loans. They have recently got rid of private student loans with the government because they just realize people are getting buried under private student loans. And they can't get out from underneath them. They can't file bankruptcy on them and just get rid of them because they're student loans. But they can file bankruptcy on them and change their payment. When you file Chapter 13 bankruptcy, a judge decides how much you owe each month on your debts. You don't get rid of them, you just reorganize your debt. Corporate businesses do this all the time. They file Chapter 13 or Chapter 11. You hear about that in the news. Chapter 13 is where they reorganize their debt and keep paying. That's where you have still a little bit of pride when you file bankruptcy and don't just give up. Bankruptcy still goes in your credit report. It still sucks, but if you're under student loan debt, the chance of your credit report being decent is pretty much nil. So, this is an option, Chapter 13. There's also the option of loan forgiveness, which that's about as rare as finding a gold nugget laying in the street. So, unless you are just absolutely crippled by debt, or unless you owe less than $1,000, loan forgiveness is probably not for you. Then there's also another option. Instead of loan forgiveness, you can file bankruptcy on your student loan debt. The way to file bankruptcy with student loan debt is you file Chapter 7 bankruptcy and they liquidate all of your assets except for the necessary things like one car, one TV, one computer. They take everything and sell it for cash and then pay off your student loans. Pay off all your debt. Usually your unsecured debt is liquidated. And then, actually, I left something out. Before you file bankruptcy on your student loans, you have to show proof that it's a burden on your life and that you have made an attempt to pay it off. The meaning of a burden on your life, it means like you can't eat, you can't pay your bills, you live in a shack, you live in a cardboard box, you drive a bicycle to work each day because you can't afford a car or gas. Basically that. Basically, if your life is miserable and there's no chance of hope for you in the future, we could probably get your loans taken care of. With bankruptcy on student loans. Oh, and also when you have to showing that you made an attempt to pay off your student loans, usually means you pay on them for about 5 years. If you pay less than 5 years, like if you graduate and say, I can't afford this stuff, the judge is going to throw out the case and you're going to file bankruptcy and lose your credit for 5 years or whatever, and it's going to suck. If you try to pay off your student loans for 5 years and give it an honest effort, and the judge sees this and sees no hope for the future for you, they will sometimes get rid of your student loans. In fact, 4 out of the 10 cases that have been listed by Huffington Post show that the judge did get rid of their debts. Now, they can file a an appeal on this, but the chance of them winning that appeal is usually 1 out of 3. So it's always worth rolling the dice. With bankruptcy, you file the bankruptcy, and then you file what they call an adversary. The adversary means you want to get rid of your student loan debt, which is rare. When this is filed, when you file bankruptcy, you have to file this with your lawyer, who then files it with the judge, who then files it with the student loan company, who then probably files it with 5 other people, and probably 3 months later, somebody says, okay, and then you can file the adversary. So, once everybody has a piece of paper that says, hey, he's filing an adversary, then you finally get to file it, then they talk about it, then they send more paper out. With everything being electronic, you'd think things would go faster, but they don't. So, that's a few ways you can get rid of your student loan debt. Income-based repayment. You can do deference, forbearance. You can file bankruptcy. And the last option, I guess, it is an option, but it's not a good one, is you can just let them go default, let them sue you, and let them garnish your wages. They can't take more than 15% of your expendable income from each check. What that means is, after your taxes are taken out, they take 15% more off of what you still remain on your check to pay off your student loans, and this is done until it's paid off. Basically, you were hosed, because this will actually be more money than you think, especially if you get a better job. If you get a better job, then, yeah, they're going to really just rip into you. But, yeah, and once this wage garnishment has been started, there's only a few options a way to get stopped, which is like an answer to the judge of why you went through this hard up time for money and all that jazz. But that's really a horrible option. There are other options, but these options come with jobs. Like if you work for an inner city school, sometimes your student loans will be forgiven after 5 years. I know the Perkins loan is one of those. I think if you work for 10 years, they forgive the rest of your loans if you file for it. If you work for a nonprofit organization like a private university or a charity full-time for 10 years, you can apply to have your student loans forgiven, which most of the time they are. With the adversary, when you file bankruptcy, which I forgot about this again because my brain's turned off, I just got off of work. Most people will probably be interested in this because it sounds like the easy way out. If you have a degree in, let's say art, and your job is freelance artist, the judge is going to tell you, go out and get a job that you don't want to do. Go out and get a real job. Go do something you don't want to do to make money. That's the real world. The judge will tell you that. Now, if your degree is, let's say, teaching, and you're a teacher, and you can't afford your student loans, that's the big chance you will have the best chance you'll have at getting rid of your loans through an adversary. So, just to review one last time, these are some options: deference, forbearance, income-based repayment, my personal favorite choice, because you only pay for 25 years and then they're forgiven. There's Chapter 13, reorganization. There's Chapter 7, bankruptcy, liquidate all your stuff, and then file an adversary. There's let them default and pay 15% of your expendable income for pretty much the rest of your life, which is a horrible option. There's 10 years at a nonprofit organization, 10 years teaching at an inner city school. There's also the rare chance of loan forgiveness. So, those are some options for you. Just throwing it out there so people know. And hopefully you guys will listen to this video, because I know there's not anything really to watch. Alright, thanks. Oh yeah, and if you have any other questions, feel free to ask in the comments down below. I'll do my best to check the video often and answer back.